It was a day no one alive could remember, yet its effects rippled through the centuries. Over 7,000 years ago, Earth was devastated by a powerful alien race, the Xareth, who erased entire civilizations in one fell swoop, reducing Earth to a smoldering wasteland. The surviving fragments of humanity scattered across the cosmos, forming alliances with sympathetic alien species, slowly building their strength for a comeback. In 2173, Commander Elena Markov, a hardened leader of the United Earth Coalition, gazed out at the broken remains of Earth from the bridge of her flagship Indomitable. Her heart ached with a fire she couldn't extinguish, knowing this mission wasn't just about revenge. It was survival. The Xareth, though long dormant, had returned to finish what they started, and humanity had one chance to strike back. "All systems are go," said her second-in-command, Lieutenant Javier Ortiz, his voice steady despite the enormous weight of the moment. "We have a clear shot at their fleet above Mars." Elena nodded, her ice-blue eyes narrowed with determination. "Engage the fleet. Let them know we're still here, and we're not going down without a fight." The Xareth ships hovered in their formation, their shimmering black hulls reflecting the light from Mars' red surface. Earth's forces had come a long way since their defeats centuries ago. Advanced human technologies, integrated with the alien allies' knowledge, allowed them to harness the power of dark energy, rivaling the strength of their ancient foes. The battle began with a violent explosion as the Indomitable fired its first salvo, striking a Xareth cruiser. The black ship buckled, sending shockwaves through the Martian atmosphere. "Direct hit," Javier shouted. "We've disabled one of their command ships." A smirk tugged at the corner of Elena's mouth. "This is just the beginning." While the battle raged in space, deep beneath Earth's surface, the Resistance continued their covert war against the Xareth occupation. Hidden among the planet's scorched ruins were survivors, descendants of those who had somehow evaded extermination. Led by Jonas Kilroy, an enigmatic leader of the human underground, these survivors had become experts in guerrilla warfare. The Resistance moved through the tunnels beneath New York City, a ghost town above but a bustling hive of activity below. Jonas stood at a cracked digital display, showing an incoming fleet of human ships, Markov's fleet. "They've finally come," said Zora, his closest advisor and a brilliant engineer. Her fiery red hair framed her determined face. "We need to launch our counterattack before the Xareth reinforce their defenses." Jonas clenched his fists. "We've been preparing for this moment our entire lives. We'll strike them where it hurts most." Zara nodded and turned to their makeshift armory. "I'll get the drones ready." As they prepared for the attack, a sudden rumbling shook the tunnels. Jonas instinctively pulled out his blaster. "They're here, Xareth ground troops. They must have detected our signal." The battle in space intensified. Elena's fleet was locked in a brutal dogfight above Mars. Ships zipped across the dark void, lasers flashing in every direction. The Xareth were ruthless, and their technology had evolved, making them deadlier than ever. Elena's ship dodged an incoming barrage of plasma fire, her hands gripping the controls tightly. "We can't let them break our formation." Suddenly, the Indomitable shuddered violently as a Xareth destroyer collided with one of their support ships, sending debris scattering across space. Elena cursed under her breath, watching the ship break apart in a fiery explosion. "We're losing too many ships," Javier said urgently. "Send out the call," Elena ordered. "We need reinforcements now." At that moment, a new wave of human ships warped in from hyperspace, led by Admiral Callan Zhao, a legend in the Earth Coalition for his strategic brilliance. His flagship, the Defiant, was a massive vessel, bristling with weapons capable of turning the tide. Down on Earth, Jonas and his resistance fighters engaged in an intense battle against the Xareth ground forces. The alien soldiers, towering figures with bioluminescent skin, were fierce opponents, but the humans fought with unmatched ferocity. Jonas fired his plasma rifle, taking down a Xareth soldier. "Keep pushing," he shouted, his voice barely audible over the chaos of explosions and gunfire. Zora maneuvered a drone through the battlefield, directing its payload at the Xareth command post. The explosion was deafening, sending alien bodies flying. "We've got them on the run," Zora yelled, her heart pounding with adrenaline. The United Earth Defense Fleet, newly assembled and bristling with vengeance, streaked through the dark void of space. Their destination, the heart of the Pit Empire. After 7,000 years of suffering, humanity had gathered its courage, technology, and sheer willpower to launch an all-out assault. The mission was simple: fight back, rescue their children, and end the reign of terror that had plagued Earth since its destruction. Captain Marcus Reinhardt stood on the bridge of the Nighthawk *, his ship primed for battle. Alongside him, Dr. Lena Sensen analyzed the massive amounts of tactical data being streamed from their command center. The tension in the air was palpable as the fleet closed in on the Pit homeworld, Pitia Prime. "How long until we're in range?" Reinhardt asked, eyes locked on the massive fleet that was just barely visible on the horizon. Lieutenant Kai Nakamura, the ship's ace pilot, checked the display. 3 minutes, Captain." Reinhardt nodded and addressed his crew. "This is it. For too long, we've been on the defensive. For too long, the Pit have terrorized our people. Today, we strike back. No hesitation. We liberate our children, and we show them what humanity is capable of." As the ship approached, it became clear just how massive the Pit fleet was. Thousands of ships were arranged in a complex formation, gleaming under the distant sun. The atmosphere inside the Nighthawk * shifted. Despite the odds, every crew member was determined to see their mission through. Suddenly, alarms blared across the command deck. "Incoming enemy fighters," Nakamura yelled as he pulled the Nighthawk * into evasive maneuvers. Dozens of Pit ships were closing in on them, firing plasma beams that sizzled through the air. Reinhardt held steady. "Return fire. Keep them off us while we punch through their defenses." Dr. Sensen locked onto the nearest target. With precision and cold efficiency, the Nighthawk * fired its powerful plasma cannons, obliterating several enemy fighters. The ship shook violently as it was hit by return fire, but Nakamura managed to evade most of the damage. "We can't keep dodging forever," Nakamura grunted as he weaved through enemy fire. "We won't have to," Reinhardt said, determination flooding his voice. "We just need to break through their defensive line and hit the core of their fleet. Once their command structure collapses, the rest will fall." Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the entire fleet. One of the Earth ships had been hit by a barrage of enemy fire, and its destruction sent a shockwave across the battlefield. "Captain, we just lost the Galileo *, Dr. Sensen said, her voice tight. Reinhardt gritted his teeth. "We push on. There's no turning back now." As the battle raged on, a communication crackled through the command center. It was Admiral John Shepard, his voice strained but steady. "All units, this is Shepard. We've broken through their outer defenses. Now's the time to hit them with everything we've got. Every last ship in the fleet, focus fire on the command carrier." Reinhardt's heart surged. This was the moment. "You heard him, Nakamura. Set a course for their command ship." The Nighthawk * roared toward the massive Pit command carrier, the center of the enemy fleet. Dr. Sensen worked furiously, analyzing the carrier's shields and looking for any possible weakness. "I've found a weak point," Sensen called out, pointing to a specific area of the carrier's defense grid. "It's vulnerable at the rear, just above the main reactor." "That's our target," Reinhardt said, voice filled with steely resolve. "Prepare all weapons. We take that ship down, and this war is ours." With Nakamura at the helm, the Nighthawk * dove toward the rear of the Pit command carrier. Enemy ships swarmed them from every direction, but Reinhardt's crew held strong. Plasma beams streaked across the dark sky as they pressed forward. The tension in the cockpit was thick as every crew member fought against the odds. "Almost there," Nakamura shouted as he dodged yet another volley of enemy fire. The Nighthawk * charged at the command carrier with blinding speed. They fired their main cannon, aiming directly at the reactor. A massive explosion erupted from the carrier, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. The command ship began to implode, its shields flickering and collapsing in on themselves. "They're falling apart," Sensen cried, her eyes wide in disbelief. Reinhardt allowed himself a brief smile. "Now let's finish the job." As the PID command carrier disintegrated, the remaining PID ships began to falter. Without their central command, their formation fell into chaos. One by one, the enemy ships were picked off by Earth's relentless counterattack. Suddenly, the cockpit of the Nighthawk filled with a series of alarms. "Incoming transmission," Nakamura said, his hands flying over the controls. The face of Dr. Malvorian appeared on the screen, his alien features twisted with fear and anger. "You think you've won, humans. This is only the beginning. Project Oblivion is nearing completion, and when it is ready, there will be nothing left of your pathetic species. Nothing." Reinhardt's jaw tightened, but his voice was calm. "Then we'll destroy Project Oblivion too, just like we've destroyed you." The screen went black as the transmission cut off. Silence filled the cockpit for a moment, broken only by the sound of distant explosions. The battle was over, but the war was far from won. Reinhardt turned to his crew. "We've taken the first step, but we still have a long way to go. Dr. Sensen, Nakamura, get us ready for the next mission. We're not done yet." As the Nighthawk joined the remaining Earth fleet, Reinhardt knew that humanity had just dealt a major blow to the PID Empire. But with the threat of Project Oblivion looming, their fight for survival was far from over. This was only the beginning. With the destruction of the PID command carrier, Earth's fleet had gained a momentary respite, but victory was still a distant hope. Humanity's forces had dealt a crippling blow to the PID, but Dr. Malvorian's chilling warning about Project Oblivion echoed in Captain Marcus Reinhardt's mind like a ticking time bomb. Back aboard the Nighthawk, Reinhardt stood in front of a holo map of the PID Empire, his mind racing. The victory felt hollow, as if a greater threat was looming just beyond the horizon. He had no idea what Project Oblivion truly was, but he knew that it couldn't be ignored. "We can't celebrate yet," Reinhardt said, addressing the command crew. "Dr. Malvorian's threat is real. Whatever Project Oblivion is, we need to find it and destroy it before it's unleashed." Dr. Lena Sensen, standing beside him, tapped on her tablet, bringing up encrypted PID data they had salvaged from the wreckage of the command carrier. "I've been going through what we managed to recover from their systems. The information is fragmented, but there are references to a secret installation. It's deep within the core worlds of the PID Empire, on a planet called Ixia." "Ixia." Reinhardt raised an eyebrow. "I've never heard of it." Sensen nodded. "It's not surprising. The planet is heavily shielded, and its existence was classified even among most PID military personnel. But if this data is accurate, Ixia is the location of Project Oblivion." Nakamura, seated at the ship's helm, leaned forward. "Ixia is in the heart of PID space. We'll be flying straight into the belly of the beast." Reinhardt's eyes narrowed. "That's exactly where we need to go." The Earth fleet had barely begun licking its wounds when the order came from Admiral John Shepard. A task force of elite ships, including the Nighthawk would spearhead a covert mission to Ixia. Every second counted. The clock was ticking on Project Oblivion, and there was no time for rest. As the Nighthawk and its accompanying vessels prepared for the perilous journey, tension permeated the corridors of the ship. Engineers rushed to repair damage from the previous battle, while soldiers ran final drills. In the command center, Reinhardt and his officers pored over maps and intel, preparing for what could be their final mission. "We're heading into the heart of enemy territory," Reinhardt said in a briefing to the crew. "The PID will be expecting us. Our only advantage is speed and surprise. I want every crew member at their best. This is the mission that could decide humanity's future." As the ships of the task force broke away from the main fleet and set course for Ixia, the crew of the Nighthawk steeled themselves for the fight ahead. Every passing hour brought them deeper into enemy space, and the tension on the bridge grew with each jump. "I'm detecting an anomaly on long-range scanners," Nakamura said after several hours of quiet travel. Dr. Sensen examined the data. It's a PID scout patrol. We're too deep into their territory to avoid detection. They'll spot us soon. Reinhardt clenched his fists. We can't afford to alert the entire PID fleet. Prepare for an ambush. We hit them fast, before they can report our position. The Asterisk Nighthawk Asterisk and its fleet slipped into the shadow of a nearby asteroid field, waiting for the PID patrol to pass. The tension on the bridge was suffocating as they waited in the darkness. Now, Reinhardt barked. The Asterisk Nighthawk Asterisk launched forward, its plasma cannons flaring to life. The patrol ships barely had time to react before they were obliterated in a hail of fire. The ambush was swift and deadly, but there was no time to celebrate. Let's keep moving, Reinhardt ordered. Every minute we waste brings us closer to detection. After what felt like an eternity of silent travel, the task force finally approached Ixia. The planet loomed before them, a desolate, barren world hidden deep within PID space. Its surface was dotted with massive installations, but it was the largest structure, a massive fortress at the planet's core, that caught everyone's attention. That's it, Dr. Sensen said, her voice barely above a whisper. That's where they're building Project Oblivion. As the fleet prepared for its descent, Reinhardt addressed the crew one last time. This is it. Our mission is simple. We get in, destroy Project Oblivion, and get out. No hesitation, no second thoughts. Humanity is counting on us. Nakamura guided the Asterisk Nighthawk Asterisk through Ixia's atmosphere with expert precision, dodging anti-aircraft fire and weaving through enemy defenses. The rest of the task force followed suit, engaging the PID forces that scrambled to defend the installation. Captain, we're detecting a massive energy signature coming from the fortress, Sensen reported, her voice tinged with urgency. It's Project Oblivion. They are powering it up. Reinhardt's heart pounded in his chest. We don't have much time. Get us to the heart of that fortress. The Asterisk Nighthawk Asterisk blasted its way through waves of enemy fighters as it approached the installation. The PID defenses were fierce, but Reinhardt's crew fought with desperation. Plasma beams streaked through the air as explosions lit up the battlefield. Captain, we've breached the outer defenses, Nakamura called out. But the fortress is heavily shielded. We'll need to disable it before we can get inside. Dr. Sensen worked furiously at her console. I'm analyzing the shield's energy signature. If we can overload the system with a high-intensity plasma burst, it should create a temporary gap in their defenses. Reinhardt nodded. Do it. The Asterisk Nighthawk Asterisk unleashed a concentrated plasma blast, striking the shield generator with pinpoint accuracy. For a brief moment, the shield flickered, and a small opening appeared. There's our chance, Reinhardt shouted. All units, move in. The Asterisk Nighthawk Asterisk led the charge, diving through the gap in the shield and landing near the central structure of the fortress. Reinhardt and a team of elite soldiers disembarked, racing toward the heart of the installation. Inside the fortress, the halls were eerily quiet. The only sound was the distant hum of machinery and the soft thrum of energy building deep within the facility. We're close, Dr. Sensen said, her voice hushed. The core of Project Oblivion is just ahead. As they neared the central chamber, a chilling voice echoed through the corridors. It was Dr. Malvorian. You are too late, humans. Project Oblivion is inevitable. You cannot stop what is to come. Reinhardt's jaw tightened. We'll see about that. The team burst into the central chamber, where a massive machine stood at the heart of the room, pulsating with ominous energy. Dr. Malvorian stood at a control panel, his eyes gleaming with malice. This is Project Oblivion, he sneered. A weapon beyond your comprehension. With it, we will erase your species from existence. Reinhardt raised his weapon. Not if we stop you first. Before Malvorian could react, the team opened fire. The PID scientist fell to the ground, his reign of terror cut short. But the machine continued to hum, its energy building to a critical level. Captain, the machine's powering up, Sensen warned. We need to destroy it now. Reinhardt and his team raced to plant explosives around the machine. Time was running out. As the final charge was set, Alarms blared throughout the fortress. "We've got to go," Reinhardt shouted. The team sprinted for the exit, the countdown ticking away in their ears. As they raced back to the Nighthawk *, the fortress behind them erupted in a massive explosion, the shockwave rippling across the planet. Hashtag aftermath. Back aboard the Nighthawk *, Reinhardt watched as the fortress was consumed by fire. Project Oblivion had been destroyed, but the cost of victory weighed heavily on his shoulders. "We did it," Sensen said quietly. "We stopped it." Reinhardt nodded, but his gaze remained distant. "For now, but the pit won't stop, and neither will we." As the Nighthawk * and the remaining ships of the task force left Ixia behind, Reinhardt knew that the war was far from over. Humanity had won this battle, but the fight for survival would continue. For now, though, they had bought themselves a little more time, and in a war like this, time was everything. The destruction of Project Oblivion marked a pivotal victory for humanity, but the cost of the mission haunted Captain Marcus Reinhardt and the crew of the Nighthawk *. Ixia's destruction sent shockwaves through the Pit Empire, sparking a fierce and desperate response. Although humanity had bought itself time, the tides of war had shifted once again, with both sides preparing for the final confrontation. As the Nighthawk * traveled back to rendezvous with Earth's main fleet, the atmosphere on board was heavy with the weight of their victory. While Project Oblivion had been neutralized, whispers about what came next rippled through the ship. Captain Reinhardt stood in the briefing room, his brow furrowed as he reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Dr. Sensen and Nakamura joined him, their expressions grim. "The destruction of Project Oblivion has triggered chaos within the Pit Empire," Dr. Sensen reported. "Our sources indicate that several factions within their command are vying for control now. Some of their leaders see this as an opportunity to crush us while we're still recovering." Nakamura glanced at the reports on her console. "There's also troubling news from our forward scouts. The Pit's counterattack forces are mobilizing faster than we anticipated. They're concentrating around key systems near Earth." Reinhardt's jaw clenched. "We're not done yet. Ixia was only the beginning. The Pit won't stop until they've either conquered or destroyed us." Admiral John Shepard's hologram flickered to life in the center of the room. "Captain Reinhardt, you and your crew have done well, but we're facing the most dangerous part of the war now. The Pit have regrouped, and they're preparing for one final, decisive strike. Earth is their target." Reinhardt's heart sank. The Pit knew that humanity's homeworld was the key to its survival. If they could break through Earth's defenses, the war would be lost. "What's the plan, Admiral?" Reinhardt asked, straightening his posture. "We need to gather every available ship and reinforce our defenses, but that won't be enough," Shepard replied. "We have to strike back while we still can, take the fight to their homeworlds before they hit us with everything they've got." As Earth's fleet prepared for what would be its most critical battle, Admiral Shepard devised a two-pronged strategy. A large portion of the fleet would remain behind to defend Earth, while a specialized task force, led by the Nighthawk *, would spearhead a daring assault deep into the heart of the Pit Empire. Their mission was simple but perilous: target the Pit capital world and cripple their command structure before their forces could fully mobilize. Reinhardt assembled his top officers for a briefing in the Nighthawk *'s command center. The holo map of the galaxy showed Earth's forces on the defensive, with a small line of ships cutting through Pit space. "We're calling this mission Operation Vengeance," Reinhardt said, his voice steely. "We hit the Pit capital directly and fast. If we can destabilize their leadership, we might disrupt their ability to organize the massive assault they're preparing." Nakamura looked up from the map. "We're going straight for the throat, Captain. It's risky, but it might be our only chance to prevent a full-scale invasion of Earth." Dr. Sensen tapped her console, bringing up intel on the Pit capital world. "Their main stronghold is located on a heavily fortified planet called Lydian. It's shielded by some of the most advanced defense systems we've encountered. It won't be easy to get through." Reinhardt's eyes narrowed as he studied the map. "We've been up against impossible odds before. This is no different." As preparations for Operation Vengeance got underway, the weight of the mission bore heavily on the crew. The tension in the air was palpable, and for many, it felt like the beginning of the end. Soldiers prepared for what might be their final battle, and engineers worked tirelessly to ensure that the Nighthawk and the rest of the fleet were ready for the journey ahead. With the fleet assembled, the Nighthawk and its accompanying ships set out for Lydian. The journey into the heart of the Pid Empire was fraught with danger. As they moved deeper into enemy territory, the crew remained on high alert, knowing that the Pid would not allow them to approach their capital unchallenged. "We've got incoming," Nakamura shouted as the fleet approached the first line of Pid defenses. Enemy ships swarmed from all directions, and the battle for survival began. The Nighthawk weaved through the chaos of the battlefield, its plasma cannons blazing. The air was thick with the sound of explosions and the screams of both human and Pid ships being torn apart in the void of space. "Keep them off our flank," Reinhardt shouted, his hands gripping the railing as the ship shook violently. One by one, the Pid defenses began to crumble under the relentless assault of the Earth fleet. But as they pressed onward, the losses mounted. Every ship destroyed was a blow to humanity's chances of success, and with each passing moment, the mission grew more precarious. Finally, after what felt like hours of brutal combat, the fleet broke through the outer defenses of Lydian. The Pid capital loomed ahead, a sprawling city protected by massive energy shields and fleets of warships. "This is it," Reinhardt said, staring at the planet below. "All ships, prepare for the final assault." The Earth fleet launched a coordinated strike against Lydian's defenses. Fighters and bombers raced ahead, engaging the Pid's orbital fleets while ground forces prepared for the landing. Nakamura expertly navigated the Nighthawk through the intense barrage of enemy fire, leading the charge as they descended toward the surface. The crew's focus was razor sharp, knowing that failure here would mean the end of humanity. "We need to take out those shield generators," Dr. Sensen said urgently. "Their main defensive grid is too strong for our weapons to penetrate. If we can disable it, we'll have a clear shot at the central command structure." Reinhardt nodded. "You heard her. Focus all fire on those generators." The Nighthawk unleashed a barrage of plasma rounds at the shield generators scattered across Lydian's surface. The explosions rocked the planet as each generator was destroyed in a chain reaction. With the shields down, the Earth fleet zeroed in on the Pid command center. "Shields are down," Nakamura reported. "We have a direct path to the central command tower." The Nighthawk and the remaining ships surged forward, dodging fire from the few Pid ships still operational. Reinhardt's heart raced as the final stage of the mission began. "We've got one shot at this," Reinhardt said, his voice steady despite the intensity of the moment. "Target the command center and fire." The Nighthawk's weapons locked onto the Pid's central command tower, and with a final push, the ship's plasma cannons fired a concentrated beam of energy, obliterating the tower in a brilliant explosion. Cheers erupted across the ship, but Reinhardt remained silent, his eyes fixed on the burning remains of the Pid capital. The mission was over, but the war was far from won. As the Earth fleet regrouped and prepared for the journey home, the atmosphere aboard the Nighthawk was a mixture of relief and exhaustion. The Pid's leadership had been crippled, but there was no time to celebrate. The war had taken a toll on everyone, and the scars of battle would not easily fade. Admiral Shepard's hologram flickered to life on the bridge. "Captain Reinhardt, you and your crew have done the impossible. We've struck a blow that the Pid will never recover from." Reinhardt nodded, though his expression remained somber. "It's not over yet, Admiral. They'll come back, and we'll need to be ready." Shepard's face softened. "You're right, but for now, we've bought ourselves a future, and that's more than we had before." As the Nighthawk and its fleet set course for Earth, Reinhardt allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. The war had changed him, and it had changed humanity. They had faced the abyss and come out the other side, but the fight for survival was never ending. In the distance, Earth shimmered on the horizon, a fragile beacon of hope in the vastness of space. And though the war against the pit was far from over, for the first time in a long while, Reinhardt felt the faint stirrings of hope. They had survived this battle. Now they would need to survive the future. 6 months had passed since the fall of Lydian and the crippling of the Pit Empire's command structure. Captain Marcus Reinhardt stood alone on the observation deck of the Nighthawk Asterisk, gazing out into the endless void of space. Earth had survived, but the war had left deep scars on humanity and its defenders. The once bustling corridors of the ship were now quieter, the echoes of battle replaced by a contemplative stillness. Earth's fleet had returned victorious, but it was a hollow victory in many ways. Millions had been lost in the struggle against the pit, and entire colonies had been decimated. Cities on Earth lay in ruins, and the rebuilding process was slow and grueling. Yet despite the destruction, there was a fragile sense of peace, at least for now. Reinhardt had been offered a promotion, even the chance to retire with honors, but he had turned them down. The thought of stepping away from the front lines felt premature, especially with so many uncertainties hanging in the air. The Pit Empire had been wounded, but remnants of their fleets still roamed the outer systems, and new factions were rising from the ashes. The threat wasn't gone, merely diminished. "Captain, are you all right?" Commander Nakamura's voice interrupted his thoughts. She stood in the doorway, her posture as crisp as ever but with a softness in her expression. Reinhardt smiled faintly, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Just thinking. Feels strange, doesn't it? Peace after everything." Nakamura nodded, stepping forward to stand beside him. "If you can call it peace. The galaxy's still a dangerous place, but at least we're not fighting for our survival every second." "Not yet," Reinhardt corrected. "The pit will regroup eventually. They always do. And even if they don't, someone else will rise to challenge us. That's the nature of things out here." Nakamura glanced at him, her brow furrowing. "You sound like you're waiting for the next war." "Maybe I am," he admitted, turning back to the stars. "It's hard to shake the feeling that it's only a matter of time before the next crisis hits. I've spent so long fighting that I don't know what it means to live without it." There was a long pause, the silence between them filled only by the soft hum of the ship's systems. Finally, Nakamura spoke again, her tone more introspective. "Maybe we don't need to wait for the next war, Marcus. Maybe we can choose something different this time." Reinhardt chuckled, but there was a hint of wistfulness in his voice. Maybe. Back on Earth, the reconstruction efforts were well underway. Massive starships ferried supplies to cities in ruins, and engineers worked around the clock to rebuild infrastructure. There was a renewed sense of purpose among humanity, a collective understanding that they had come too close to extinction to take life for granted. Admiral John Shepard, now overseeing the post-war recovery, had become the public face of Earth's resurgence. His leadership during the war had earned him immense respect, and now he was using that influence to guide humanity into an era of cautious optimism. The Pit were not defeated, but for the first time in decades, there was breathing room, a chance to focus on something other than survival. One of the key initiatives of the post-war era was the formation of an alliance among the human colonies and other allied species who had fought against the Pit. Recognizing that unity had been humanity's greatest strength, the new coalition of worlds sought to create a lasting peace by fostering cooperation between species that had once been enemies or rivals. The Nighthawk Asterisk became a symbol of resilience and sacrifice. Its crew, once celebrated as heroes of the war, now found themselves adjusting to the strange quiet of peacetime. Some left the service to return to civilian life, others stayed on, unable to detach themselves from the ship that had carried them through countless battles. Dr. Sensen had been offered a prestigious position in the newly formed coalition's scientific council, where she worked on technological advancements inspired by Pit technology. Her discoveries held the promise of great advancements in medicine, energy, and space travel, advancements that could redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. Commander Nakamura, too, had risen through the ranks. Her tactical brilliance during the war had not gone unnoticed, and she was offered command of her own ship. But she remained by Reinhardt's side, loyal to the man who had led them through the darkest days of the conflict. As for Captain Reinhardt, he continued to serve aboard the Nighthawk even as the galaxy shifted around him. He refused to retire, and though his wariness of the future never quite faded, he found a sense of purpose in ensuring that humanity was ready for whatever might come next. He knew the peace they had now was fragile, but it was worth defending. One evening, as the Nighthawk drifted through the quiet of space, Reinhardt found himself in the ship's hangar bay, staring at the vast expanse beyond. There was no imminent threat, no alarms blaring, no orders to give. For the first time in a long while, there was only silence. He closed his eyes, letting the stillness wash over him. The faces of those he had lost during the war flashed in his mind, but they no longer filled him with the crushing grief he had once felt. Instead, there was a quiet resolve, a promise that their sacrifices had meant something. "Captain," Nakamura's voice came through his earpiece. "We're approaching the next system." Reinhardt opened his eyes, taking one last look at the stars. The war might be over, but the journey continued. There were new worlds to explore, new challenges to face, and a galaxy still teetering on the edge of chaos and possibility. With a deep breath, he turned and headed toward the bridge. "On my way," he replied. And so, Captain Marcus Reinhardt, hero of the war, returned to the helm of the Nighthawk ready for whatever the future held, be it peace or conflict. For now, though, there was a fragile peace among the stars, and that was enough.